Welcome to the iNetrepreneur Radio Show. We are so honored to bring you your host, the ultimate celebritypreneur, connecting businesses and celebrities worldwide. Winner of the Networking Organization of the Year, best-selling author, magazine publisher, trainer, and owner and founder of Network Together and the iNetrepreneur Media Network for magazines, TV, and radio network. We're excited to bring you your host, Mr. Robert W. Jones.
Well, welcome everyone. Happy Thursday. And this is a special Thursday. It's 11/11 of 2021. Happy Veterans Day. If you're a veteran out there, pat yourself on the back. I spent 6 years in the Marines myself from 1983 to 1989. You know, looking back, it seems like the older I get, the more special those years were. When I was in the Marines, I mean, I kind of was like always thinking like, okay, when am I going to get out? But, you know, looking back, they're actually some of the fondest years of my life, some of the deepest relationships in the most formative times of who I became, you know, as I become older, started during that time frame. You know, and it's an honor to be able to serve with the proud men and women and to know that I'm a part of another family out there, you know, that one that is willing to give up even their lives to serve and to help and to, you know, be a part of a great country where we do have these freedoms, from spiritual to financial to educational to, you know, getting to be who we are. And, you know, and I feel blessed that I was chosen in the spiritual life of everything in this universe to be here in this time and moment. And each and every day that I live, I'm so much more grateful that I was able to serve one, and I was born in this time frame to be a part of something so special. And that for me, you know, is the United States of America. And I am a proud patriot, and I am proud to serve. And I just salute everyone who has been in the services. And again, I just want to say thank you for it. You know, I am really excited for today's show. You know, I told our guests, I hope I don't get too geeked out or too gooberish, because what she does is just, to me, I think it's the most amazing thing that probably 90% of entrepreneurs really need. And what they need is they need to be released from the chains that they have on them. I think some of the greatest people in the world are the people who have messages and they've never been released from the shoebox in their closet at their home. And Dawna Campbell, who's my guest today, I'm getting goosebumps talking about her. She is one of those people that really does have the heart and the mindset and has developed those skill sets to help entrepreneurs and business owners, you know, overcome these things. But before we get to Dawna, and I just, you know, goober all over her, I want to talk a few things, a little bit of housekeeping. I want to remind everyone that our show, we're in Arizona time, is from 2:30 to 3:30 Arizona time, and right now we're on Mountain Standard Time. California is 1 hour after us, and then Central is 1, so we're in Mountain Standard Time. So it's 1:30 in California, 3:30 in the Mountain, and then the East Coast, it's I guess it's 4:30 there. So you can subscribe to our channel by going to YouTube/iNetrepreneur Radio. That's just iNetrepreneur Radio. I know it's hard to spell, but I'll slow it down. Slow down. There we go. You can get all those letters and type it in there. But I guarantee it, once you learned how to spell it, you'll know it from then on out. Also, you can like us on our Facebook. We're at facebook.com/iNetrepreneur Radio. Also, you can catch us at NT Events, which is the easiest thing to spell and get to. It's ntevents.net, ntevents.net, where you can sign in and register for over 1,000 meetings and events, educational experiences, you know, that we have annually. You know, there's also classes and, you know, other networking events that we have called the Summits, which Dawna was actually one of our keynote speakers. Well, not one of, she was the keynote speaker. So I better get that straight, because I don't want Dawna to come in here and say, wait, let me correct you there, Robert. I was the one. So, and then lastly, we also have some remaining pages in our next Art of Connection book. This is the first one behind me. It all started when you know, I had a conversation with my son, and my son is like, you know, you old people, you have it all wrong. You know, he said, legacy is not about the stuff, it's about the knowledge. You know, and it's about the knowledge that's given from one generation to another that allows us to establish our own legacy. And from that came the Art of Connection, where where authors from around the world give their hope, inspiration, and support to other entrepreneurs, who may be going through things right now and just need a little bit of inspiration on a daily basis so they can, level up and reach the heights that they might not have otherwise. So, yes, Troy, it's not about the stuff, it's about the knowledge and the inspiration that knowledge can provide. So, I am so excited. I'm going to take this across the screen. I am here with Dawna Campbell. Well, welcome, Dawna.
Hi, and thank you so much for having me here with you today, Robert. And I have to say, much gratitude and appreciation because, yes, today is Veterans Day. It's 11/11, magical numbers. But without people like you who dedicated your life to the service, I wouldn't have the freedom to be here to share what we're going to share today. So, much gratitude to you.
And thank you so much. And and it's really funny, Donna, because I didn't wake up when I was younger to think someday I was going to join the United States Marine Corps. It was something that I started feeling because I saw people around me, and the country at the time was going through its own turmoil, and I thought, what better way to serve? I had been really strong in my church, and I just wanted to do another service. So I want to say thank you for that. Little did I know that signing of the piece of paper would lead to 6 years of my life, but but I am so fortunate that I can call myself a United States Marine, and once you have that, you have it for the rest of your life. Well, everyone, I am here with Dawna Campbell. She is known as the mind whisperer and the heart-centered healer, and and so many times I talk about that, and people are like, what does that mean? Is that really real? Is she really real? What do you know about her? And I love that people ask those questions. And I say that, she is the person that helps business owners, and thought leaders, and people who just want to pursue their own prosperity, success, and hope, and even love, right, Donna?
I
And yeah, and that's why I'm really happy that you're here today with me. And like all of us, we all grew up somewhere. We all grew up, with family, whether it's nuclear, or whether it was broken, in maybe different states. I don't even know if you were a military brat or anything like that. But let's really start, and let's go back to like kind of the nature and the nurture of your life. What does that foundation look like?
Well, probably not what a lot of people would imagine because what you see today isn't anywhere close to how I grew up. So, I grew up near the poverty line in Silicon Valley. Really, we were on the other side of the tracks, and my schools were 4 and 5 miles away that we had to transport to and from. And I think what really happened for me, both of my parents were blue collar workers. My mom instilled in me a belief that you always needed to create opportunities for yourself because they weren't able to provide those opportunities. I worked, I put myself through college, I earned my own bachelor's degrees without a student loan. So everything I had, I worked for. And there was a point in my life where because we were so close to the poverty line that the people next door to me, they were like surrogate grandparents to me, would bring over food to help feed the family because we were on welfare and other things, even though both of my parents worked. And that was one time they decided to take me with them when they went to go get food. And that was when I realized they were dumpster diving.
Oh my
And
goodness.
that's what we were eating, and we had no idea. And that was in that moment that I decided that if I wanted my own clothes, if I wanted my own food, and to eat healthy, I went and got a job. So I started working at the age of 14.
Oh my gosh.
And I thought my pathway was to become a financial advisor because it was a logical step of creating income or creating money for opportunities. And I wanted those opportunities for other people, for their children who didn't have what I didn't have growing up. So I wanted a give back to the world.
And it really is sometimes really hard to understand sometimes when someone says that they're living at the poverty line in Silicon Valley. I
Yeah.
know when I grew up in Dallas, Texas, I mean, to me, California was the land of milk and honey. It
Yeah.
was the place that seemed magical. I mean, it was Disneyland. It was the Golden Gate Bridge. It was the Japanese Garden in San Francisco. I mean, I always felt like that was a magical place. So when I'm listening to you, Donna, it's really hard for me to imagine that, there was ever any poverty in the
Mm.
state of California. And so much of the time, it's like we're sold an illusion of one thing, but the
Yes.
reality is very different, isn't it?
Very different. Yes. I remember our backyard. We had amazing fruit trees, berry bushes, we had a garden, and we had to work that all summer long because we would harvest the food and my mom would can so we could have food throughout the winter. Just pieces like that, or we would go out to the fields and pick fresh things. We were eating really well, but we had to work for it. And everything didn't come from the grocery store. And we certainly didn't eat out very often. If we did, it was like McDonald's was like a huge
Right.
treat.
Yeah. I love that you bring up this is where I really do think that when you share a piece of your life, in your background, I mean, most people have never canned. Most people don't
Mhm,
know the amount of time and the amount of effort. And actually, there is a certain amount of expertise that it takes in that. And if you don't do it right, you can blow it. You
mhm,
really can. And I think that that's a part of what you have in you because, my dad always said me, what he always told me, he always said, what makes a human being so amazing is their mind.
mhm.
But he said, but the mind is only the knowledge part. He
Yes.
said the hands are the
Mhm,
action part. And he says of all the animals that have ever been on earth, what really makes us different is we have the ability not just to think the things that we want to do, but to have the hands to do the things that we want to do.
mhm,
And that's what I think I love about the canning and being able to be connected actually to what gives us life. And I'm an avid gardener myself right now. You ask my
mhm.
wife, I got tomatillos, I got rosemary, I got basil, I got tomatoes, eggplant, you know, and I think that is pretty important. But also during your time, like with your parents, they probably were influencers in your life as well, weren't they?
They were, but it came at me from we would think nurturing would be very positive, but how my parents raised it came from, we're going to say, a negative viewpoint
Mm,
because how they did it, they taught me everything that I didn't want to be or that I didn't want to participate in. For example, I remember my mom asking me one time what I wanted to be when I grew up. I was about 9 at the time, and I remember looking up at her innocently thinking, "I'm not gonna get this one wrong. I got it right. I know exactly what I'm gonna do with my life." And I looked at her and I went, "Well, I'm gonna join Greenpeace and save the whales." And she looked at me and got incredibly angry and said, "Dawna, you can be anything you want in this world. Be a doctor or a scientist or a lawyer." And she opened up the back door, walked out, slammed it shut, and didn't speak to me the rest of the day. So I went outside, of course, because that was the escape.
right.
And I had to think about, what did I do wrong? Why wasn't I enough? And why couldn't I like go save the whales if that's what I wanted to do with my life? As you get older, you understand. I really told my mom I was going to be an activist and that there was probably no money in that. And what she wanted was me to have an income, a job, a family, because it was the first time in history near the women's liberation movement that women could be anything in the world that they wanted to be. And there were opportunities I had that she didn't have. So that was the belief she instilled in me. And then that's why I chose eventually to become a financial advisor. So the way they taught me came from the reverse of what you would think of the sitting down, let's talk about it, let's explain. No, 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 no. It came differently.
But that really to me is incredible, Donna, because when you're really thinking about it, and a lot of kids would be, they wouldn't take something that's contrary and make it positive.
Yes.
So there was something in you that you had learned or you were
Mhm,
born with. It was something innate in you, being
mhm,
touched in a certain way that what is that saying? It's like, when you're given lemons, you want to make lemonade out of it, right?
right?
And
Mhm.
not every kid has the ability or the power to do that. Were there other influences maybe that you had in your life that like whether it from spiritual or maybe you just had a propensity to watch the animals in the garden or something
Mhm.
like that. What could have been some other influences that kind of shown this light to you that maybe others at such a young age of 9 didn't have?
I think it was a really strong connection to myself because I
Mhm.
didn't really have people outside of my parents, mostly my mom, because my dad worked graveyard, so I didn't see him very often. And I didn't have outside influences really outside of that growing up. But I remember when I would go outside, I would think and I would ponder and I would come to conclusions and I would have these conversations with myself as if I was talking to another version of me. Today, I realize I was probably talking to spiritual energy or creator or
Yeah.
the energy through all things. And I've always had that. And so I got wise very quickly. So the next time my mom asked me what it was I wanted to be when I grew up, I learned. I learned very quickly. I didn't say I was going to join Greenpeace and save the whales. I said, well, I could be a teacher or I might be a veterinarian, something like that. That sounds good. And then I would
Right.
just go outside, start skipping down the street, dreaming of my dream life. And, it's like, oh, shiny rock, pick it up, stick it in your pocket. I think I'm going to travel the world. And, the esoteric side of me, let's, read crystal balls and palms and all of that. Because I was so interconnected to that energy. That was really my best friend growing up.
And I do think and I love that we are born with gifts. And one of my favorite sayings is we're all created with nature, nurture, and our noodle.
Mhm.
All those things, they come together, and we can pull. Some people can jump higher. Some people are empaths. Some people, can spell at a spelling bee, which I can. Other people
Mhm.
just have the gift of just an extroverted that just brings people to you. And how do they have that it?
Right.
And some of us just have to really dig deep, and they have to dive, and they have to work so hard. And some of the things I see you do, you're just so natural, and you can feel it. When
Mhm.
we had our event, when you're talking up there, and I talked about it. Sometimes a speaker will come on, and they'll be on for an hour of time, and you kind of, the audience kind of goes, and it kind of dwindles down a little bit.
Mhm.
But your audience, you were like flypaper. People just kept coming and staying and coming and staying. And I think it really is that natural thing that you have, is that you have. I always say you have IQ, EQ, and then the other thing is CQ. And CQ is what I call the connectors quotient. It's the ability to have an appetite for other humans, and when they
Mhm.
feel that, they can't help but want to be a part of that. And it's really crazy, because when you had that discussion with your mom, a part of you probably still said, I still want to be that kid, right? That,
Mhm.
that makes my mom proud and makes my dad proud. And when I look at your career, and you're like, okay, finance. Okay, there's that finance thing over there. And I'm looking over here at marketing. I'm like, quite frankly, I've really never seen marketing and finance actually on the same page, but yet you in
Mhm.
yourself blended the two somehow. What was that like in the corporate world, being a person who's
Yeah.
both of marketing and finance?
Well, I remember when I went to college, I had so many interests, I didn't know where to focus. So they sent me to a career placement place where I took all these aptitude tests, and then it gives you out a printout of all the things you would be good at. And like, I remember like scientist was on there, mathematician was on there. It's like all the stuff I didn't want to do or be. And I
Right.
kept researching and researching and researching. And I came across being a financial advisor. And I went, well, that makes sense. And then I looked at the credentials of what they look for to be a financial advisor. One, of course, naturally is finance. Marketing was actually listed in there as well, because if you didn't know how to communicate and present yourself to the people to bring them in, you couldn't financial advise anybody because you had to
Right.
do your own marketing. I also have almost one class shy of a minor in organizational communication because that was also a large piece of financial advising was how do you communicate from one person to the next, a complex topic that's very simple. How do you take, all the securities lingo and say, this is the investment for you and here's why. So I tailored my coursework for that. I say one class shy because I was done. I was ready to graduate after 5.5 years of putting myself through school. It's like, okay, it's time to actually go do this. I'll end one class. I didn't want to go an extra semester. And that's what I did. And so those things just all blended together. Now, the world of marketing today is much different than the world of marketing 25 years ago.
Right.
So
Right.
you always have to keep up and renew those skills.
And I have to tell you something. Here's a little something that I figured out, because you really had me wondering about financial and where you are now. And I had a conversation with my mom. When all else fails, go back to the mom, right? And so I go back to my mom, and I told her, I said, I met Donna Campbell, and you know, I just I wonder how someone could go from the financial world, and then all of a sudden they're studying with like Buddhist monks, and they're practicing yoga, and they're all about the spirit and the heart. And my mom told me this. She said it's not about the finance.
Mm.
She said it's about the belief.
Yeah,
And she says, she said, you can all know all the numbers in the world, but if you don't have the belief to change the financial part of your world, you won't change the financial world. You'll still do the
exactly.
same things for other, whether you have a financial planner or not. And I said, well, mom, how do you know this? And she said, well, she worked with a gentleman named Thomas Leonard, and Thomas Leonard was the first person that came of Coach, International, and he was a financial planner. And he said, people don't have a financial problem, they have a belief system problem.
Mhm.
And when she told me that, all of a sudden I was like, I get it now. Your belief in people happened to be at that time to be in the financial slash maybe communication
Mhm.
setting, but it's amazing how you've been able to parlay that and help people in finances and relationships and interpersonal communications and such. So my last question in this segment would be, after your time in that part of your career in financial marketing,
Mhm.
what is one thing that was so powerful that you learned from that you still probably implement today?
Oh my goodness. That it's not just the belief, it's how you feel underneath the belief that drives it forward. And when you are truly in touch with how everything feels, life becomes magical again.
I think that is amazing, because I always say the only impedance that a person has in life is their own impedance.
Mhm.
So I am here with Donna Campbell. I mean, she is a special heart. She has walked on some of the stages, like with Sharon Lecter, Kevin Harrington, Robert Jones. I'm just really excited to have her on the show. She is known as the mind whisperer of heart-centered healing. She's come from this crazy world of marketing and finance, and the world of actually canning her own food, to become one of the most extraordinary, abundant mentality gurus that I know. We're going to take a little break, and then we're going to come back and talk some more with Donna in our next segment. See,
Network together. It's all about connections. Expand your sphere of influence. Build relationships. Be part of something bigger. Be part of Network Together.
all right, everyone. I am here with Donna Campbell. We had our shameless plug of Network Together and the iNetrepreneur Network. We are 1,500 members strong. We have members in 12 different countries and 25 different states. And I'm here with Donna Campbell, who's also a member and one of our the keynote speaker at our last summit, which we had on September 21st. And she was an amazing person. And in this next segment, I'd really thought about some of the things that I want to talk with, Donna about. And one of the things that sometimes we don't talk in business enough about is really utilizing, your gifts. And
Mhm.
and I think, as business owners, when you are aligned with your gifts, and I always say, if you have your heart set, it will shape your mindset, which will help you develop any skill set
Mhm.
that you want to have. I mean, I will be buried in the grave thinking that is the formula for success for anyone. But so many times, Donna, tell me I'm wrong, but I think I'm right. So many times it's like the gifts are all around us. They're like floating orbs that we can just grab and reach and grab
Mhm.
and reach. But what do? We keep our hands tied. And and what you do is you help a person, dig deep, and you said that,
Mhm.
feel and believe and be able to reach out those orbs and turn them into their own self energy.
Yeah.
What are some of the things when it comes to your thought form healing, that leadership of what you
Uh-huh.
do? What does that look like to a person that might say, well, this Donna Campbell, I don't know if that's true. I can't believe that stuff. She needs to go back to finance or something.
Huh?
What do you say to those who really dismiss their gifts, and you're saying, no, no, embrace those gifts?
Right. Right. Um, Everything you said is right. I can't disagree with any of that. What I find interesting, a lot of times people will want to know what the difference is, or how am I
Mhm.
successful, or what is success? And really, what success is to one person to another might be completely different. And the same with failure. So somebody's failure might be another person's success. And so then I used to think it was about experiences.
Mhm.
And that if you like the experience, keep repeating it. And if you didn't like it, do something different. And then that was when I realized that even your experience didn't define a person's success. It was no matter what you went through, there was always a silver lining gift to be embraced, whether it came from something that was happy and joyful or something that was maybe painful and fearful. There was always a gift in there. And so, what I do today, and why I get called a mind whisperer, because I did this to myself in my own life with some of the training I had, some of my own life
Mhm.
experiences, was take that energy and transform the pain, the failure, the less than, the not enough into the happiness, the joy, the prosperity, and the wealth. And what happened, there was a time where I was living with another person. We were together for 2 years, and he decided to become physically abusive towards me.
Mhm.
And one day almost took my life. So I knew I had to get out of that relationship. And when I did, I realized that took me a number of years, but that I could have forgiveness, which was giving myself
Mhm.
compassion, love, because I didn't need to hang on to the anger or the pain of what happened anymore. I could let it go. And even over this whole last year, I realized that I went through that whole event back then to realize today that I'm worthy to live this life. Because several years ago, that person crossed over from brain cancer.
Oh.
But I'm still living.
Mhm.
And if I'm living, I need to share this message, how to do it, share it with the world, that you can have your gifts from even your most painful moments. And because you're living and I'm living and you're living, we are naturally worthy because we are alive and we're meant to be here at this time. And then, of course, we're worthy to live a life of abundance and prosperity. So even today, from that event, I am still learning and uncovering all of these gifts. And that's what I do with other people is we go through the process, we release the pain and invoke the gift to embrace it so you live your best life ever.
Well, and it really is incredible because when you talk about that, the triangle, you teach about the triangle going from hate, to, sadness, to,
Mhm.
and at the top is love. And, there's 5 steps, but there's three of them, you know, and what you teach and what I've learned, because I listen, is, we're all energy, aren't
Yeah.
we? We are all energy. We're vibration, whether someone believes it is spiritual or not, but we are all vibration. And I think, you know I say this to my members as well. You learn better when you're happy than when you're sad.
Yeah.
You accomplish more when you're happy than when you're mad. And I think that that's the same thing. Is you know you does such a great job of creating this whole new, like, belief ball. I don't know what else to call it, like a belief ball, for someone to say, here's my ball, and I'm going to take out this, and I'm going to insert this other thing. I'm going to take this out, and I'm going to insert this other thing. And all of a sudden, we have this whole new sphere of energy that
Mhm.
starts to revolve around us. And I may be wrong, I might be kooky on this, but in a way, that's kind of like how I feel that you take people, from a place of being fractured to actually kind of a place of being put back together. Am I right in that, or am I just
You are.
kind of hokey pokey?
Nope, you're absolutely right. And it's always going back to that state of wholeness, which is this pure vibrational energy of love. Now, here's the piece and why. Um, you ask the question, why don't I go back to finance or what, maybe I have doubt. Is this really true? Is this right?
Mhm.
Well, everything that I do, everything that I talk about is grounded in physics. Nikola Tesla said, if you want to know the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, vibration, and frequency. So if we're working on those levels, we can make anything shift and change that we want. You can take physical laws and apply them to yourself on a spiritual level and create great change when you know how. Albert Einstein, one of the greatest physicists of the world, even talked about the universal love force energy. And that if you really look at his equation, E equals mc squared, which is how, the matter, speed of light, create
Yeah.
energy. He said, if that energy was love, imagine how the world could be. And he even wrote an entire letter about it to his daughter and how we are made up of this energy itself. So everything is grounded in physics. So if you want to get a little geeky, I'm kind of a physics nerd.
No,
I study it, I read books. There's some really great ones out there.
well, I really do. I mean, I was working on the project How Thoughts Become Things, and it really is important for us to know that our thoughts do become things, and our emotions play a role. I'm like, our thoughts become things, but our emotions are the speed to get from the thoughts to the things, and that's
Yes.
how I kind of look at it. That's really E equals mc squared. I mean, the mass is the thoughts, and the speed is the velocity to get you where you want to be. If you want to look at it that way. But how do thoughts and emotions, how do they play out in people building their own guideposts on the route that they want to take? Because to me, what you really do is you take entrepreneurs and business owners, um, you know well, and people in general, and you really, what you want to do is you're creating a pathway for them, and you don't know what that pathway is because everyone's success is different. but
Right.
but the same thing, though, you're also still providing a tool set for them to start using, because
Mhm.
you can't be with them, from the boardroom to the bedroom to the bathroom to the to the outdoor
Right.
field. And I think that's one of the most important things, because kind of as a spiritual or a vibrational leader, I mean, it's not about doing for them; it's about teaching them to do for themselves. And I think one of the best conversation is, how do thoughts and emotions
Uh-huh.
play out to their success?
Mhm. First, I'm going to say, instead of doing it for you, yes,
Mhm.
I do teach how to do it, but I can just program you to do it. So, and this is how it works. So, our subconscious records everything from the moment we're born to the day we exit this earth. And it's constantly, well, in that recording everything, it's recording everything as a factual event. And then what it's doing is it's taking the feelings and emotions that you have moment by moment and associating it with the event. Well, the problem is that our awareness of the feelings and the emotions getting associated with the event is only maybe 10%. And
Mhm.
that is if you're Albert Einstein, because that was his conscious awareness level when scientists measured. So, what is this other 90% doing? Well, what happens is we hold a thought, but then we have a feeling, and the feelings that we have in the heart space isn't necessarily always in alignment with the thought. So, if you think of a car, in order for that car to go forward, you have to put a fuel in it. And if you don't put the right fuel in your car's not going to go very far. So some cars take gasoline, there's different grades, others take diesel, some are electric, some are hybrid, some are hydrogen, corn oil. There are many different types. So if you put in the wrong fuel, it doesn't go anywhere. So if you put the wrong feeling and emotion in the heart space to what the thought is, your thought doesn't go anywhere, and it's going to return to you what you don't want. So we're electromagnetic beings. Energy runs up and down us, and through our energy centers, magnetically, it goes out and back in. So often what happens is we'll hold a thought. I want to be more abundant. I want to have
Mhm.
more money. I want to create. But then we feel in the deep subconscious less than, not enough, unworthy, undervalued, underappreciated. So when that energy goes out to the world, that 90%, it's going to
Yeah.
attract back to you those feelings, even though your thought was, I'm abundant, because there's a disconnect. So when I work with clients, we put in and take out those pieces and put in the pieces to align the feeling correctly in the heart set to align with the mindset. So when you say, I'm abundant, you feel abundant, and then abundance attracts back to you. And that's how we reprogram.
And when you say it, it sounds so simple. I know it's not that simple, but
It is
maybe it is.
simple.
I mean, you know, because I'm like, because when I look at things sometimes, Donna, and I get this all the time, I'm a natural introvert, so my natural tendency is just to observe everything,
Mhm.
right? And I take it in, and my question would be is like, why do we put so little effort into the subconscious part of who we are? I mean,
Mhm.
I talk to people all the time, and 90% of the people will talk about like the conscious aspects of a person's life.
Mhm.
Your 90% of what you talk about is just the opposite. You talk about, it seems like, this subconscious. You know,
Yes.
there has to be a reason, and I don't know it. I mean, I am at a loss that when it just comes to just living life right, it's almost like the untalked about thing. And is it just because it's just so hard to understand, or is it just because people are afraid to tap into that, or is it because there's only one Donna Campbell in the world? you know for me, it's like, if you're not tapping into that, it's really hard to achieve both the health and wealth that really most people want. And I think that it's hard, because I know that there's only so much Donna out there, and there's only so much Robert Jones out there. You know, is it like a conspiracy, or is it just why is it that it's so, maybe so not understood, and it's so not talked
Yeah.
about, and it's so whatever? Is it really that's where true vulnerability lies? I don't know, but it seems like that's the only thing I can come up with.
Right. So we have our consciousness, and we're consciously aware, but we're consciously aware of the world that we can see, which is maybe that 10%. So the subconscious is the unseen world. And when you start opening up to see what's underneath it, so you have the consciousness, when you ask what's underneath that, you can start opening up layers of the subconscious. So I like to think of it as a gift. Actually,
Mhm.
you get a present, someone wrapped it. What do? That wrapping paper is like the consciousness. You can see it, but you don't know what's inside because it's unseen. You can't see it yet until you unwrap it and see what the gift is. And that's the whole thing
Mm.
with what I call mind whispering, is because we're unwrapping those presents. So what we're doing is we're taking off the fear, we're taking off the anger, the defeat, the anxiety, the depression, the stress, whatever we covered ourselves up with, and unwrap it to find what's really in that heart space, which is your gifts for you to embrace. And I think for a lot of people, why we don't look at it is they just don't know. So we have to create the awareness, share our stories, get our messages out there. And then they go, oh, aha, I have a moment. And then they can start opening up their own gifts.
Well, I think you put that so well. You know, in other words, so much of what we take in, and it's blasted at this, we
Mhm.
start to bury it, don't we?
We do. And everything is always competing for our attention, too. So we're distracted in the consciousness. Let's
Oh
not.
my, absolutely. I mean, that is so great. Oh my goodness. Uh, I am here with Donna Campbell of the Healing Heart Incorporated Inc. Because she is out there. She is the mind whisperer with a heart-centered belief system that people can use. I'm going to say that for you, Donna, because you really are. I'm really excited with her today. We're coming to another break, and then I'm going to come back, and Donna and I are going to talk a few of the things that she offers her clients on how she can level up, and whether it's changing beliefs, it's working on that subconscious, and creating a space where they can find their own happiness, their prosperity, and their love. All right, we will be back in just a few moments.
Network together. It's all about connections. Expand your sphere of influence. Build relationships. Be part of something bigger. Be part of Network Together.
Everyone, I am here with Donna Campbell. She is an international bestseller with her book, Financially Fit. She's also an international speaker. She's probably been on all continents but Antarctica, right? I mean, so I think that that's pretty exciting. I mean, even if you haven't stepped on Antarctica, you've probably zoomed there or something
Yeah.
like that. So I'm just going to say you've been all of them, including the ocean. So which is really good. She shared the stage with Lisa Nichols, Joe Vitale, Dr. Sharon Lecter, Kevin Harrington, and me, which I'm excited about. And I just have to say that because I just want to wrap myself in there, and we talked about the gifts, Don, and we talked about some of the ways that you grew up and you saw the world in your own eyes. And I think, a lot of what you have, it's just natural. It really is a natural, but you didn't hide from what God gave you. You actually ran to it, and you built from it. And, to me, you're here to save people from despair, from
Mhm.
being disencouraged, from having delimiting thoughts, from, being the worst version of themselves. I hear this all the time. Be the best version of yourself. Be the best version of yourself. And sometimes it actually really means you have to start replacing the worst versions of yourself and start what replacing it with the better versions. And sometimes it takes more time than others, I would imagine. But I'm going to give you some encouragement. Okay,
Okay.
not that you don't need it, but because what I did is I watched the videos of all your testimonials that you have on your website. And I did that for one reason, because I got excited about it.
Uh-huh.
Because what they said about you is you're a teacher.
Mhm.
You help fortify relationships. You've created a new openness in their lives. And I'm reading what I wrote down. You've made me more powerful. You've made me believe again. You've helped me
Mhm.
heal. You've given me an excitement in life. You've given me the ability to believe again. And most importantly, you have provided a happiness and joy. And see, I wanted you to know that, because sometimes I think, my master's was in statistical analysis, believe it or not. And to me, words in a way are a form of statistics. And,
Mhm.
and I wanted you to know that that's the effect that you've had on people's lives.
Yeah.
And I think that is a beautiful thing, and a part of your effect on people's lives is, I always say, be a prophet of your profit.
Mhm.
And you have, several, like, coaching programs and online courses, and you probably maybe do personal and group coaching. You certainly teach and train freely with everyone.
Mhm.
I've seen that in person. But tell us about, let's start with abundant money. How did that come about, and what would someone expect to learn, or
Uh-huh.
how do they transform by taking abundant money as one of your offerings?
Yes. So, what Abundant Money is, it's a 6-week course, a little more personalized, and we are going through all of the aspects of the book Financially Fit. And so it's a
Mm.
6-week course. We get together once a week. You do have homework in that class,
Oh,
but
boo.
you also have a couple of private sessions with me to use however you desire. If you want mentoring and coaching, if you want me to work on you, teach, explain, so you know how to work with the different techniques of making these shift patterns. Yes, there's a little bit of meditation involved, but meditation is also about shifting your brainwave pattern to accept the new energy and release the old energy. And that's why we utilize that. And so throughout that course, we're going to start off with doing and taking what your direct money experiences were, how your parents raised you, what their expectations were, the money patterns that were instilled in you. And then we start transforming them. We also go into the different energy centers and make sure that you know how to transition and align the energy on the inside so you can make change on the outside. We also go through how the brain works and your masculine and feminine energies. So, your intuitive inspiration side and how to put those things into action, and why we got to do the reverse of what society taught us in that, while we're also taking out limiting beliefs around the um, beliefs around that we heard growing up, like money doesn't grow on trees, things like that. And as we go through all of this, what we're leading up to is the finale of creating your own affluent story. But then we're going to take that affluent story for you of what you want in the future and integrate it into your present day. So we clear the past, we align the present, we take the future and bring it into the now.
Well, I mean, and I'm a guy. What do you say the guys? I'm not intuitive. I'm a guy. I can't take a
You are.
course like
You
that.
have ideas, don't you?
I have a few out there.
What's
What
one idea you want to create?
you know. So it's just like and that's what I hear so much of the time is with guys. I think that we have just come into this whole new area, and we think that we don't have any intuition, but men do have intuition too,
Mhm.
don't they?
They do, absolutely. And when I first started down this career path, I was going to say mm, all of my clients were women. And about 7 years ago, it started balancing out. And
Mhm.
now today, it's almost completely equal, half women, half men when I'm working with them or who's coming to the class, because they're waking up. They know that
Mhm.
I have things that I want to do and that I want to accomplish. And sometimes I just can't figure it out. But when we go through those shifts, because they grew up, they have the same blockages as everybody. It doesn't matter based on gender. So it will open up different avenues and different things. And one of the aspects and the things I talk about in the book Financially Fit is you can have a masculine brain or you can have a feminine brain, and gender doesn't matter. It's how
Mhm.
you're utilizing your brain because we have two halves of the brain. And we have an analytical, logical, linear, sequential, step by step that's considered a masculine brain. But the feminine brain is ideas, inspiration, creativity, language, communication, thoughts, energy, feelings. And that's the feminine brain. I know a lot of men who are in a feminine brain, and I know a lot of women who have a masculine brain.
Right.
So it's not denoted to gender, it's how you're using your brain and the shifts that are needed to invoke the other side of it, and then balance those two things out. And we do some of that in the Abundant Money program.
Yeah, and the other thing too that's so phenomenal is, how many money programs do you have that I mean, I speak it in society in general
Mhm,
that actually have meditation is really a part of
mhm,
the fascinating piece of what you do, and that's another place, men are waking up. I'm seeing a lot of changes myself, and meditation, the question I get for people who don't meditate, and this is a great place, that I would love to learn from you. Why is meditation so important, and why is it a part of your process?
mhm. When well, first, what meditation is to me, and something that I was taught by a Buddhist monk, was he had to stand up and walk in a circle for a walking meditation. And after about 20 minutes, he sat us down and said, "This is a metaphor for life." And we all kind of looked at him like, "What do you mean?" And he was like,
Right? Yeah.
"When you got up, you walked in a circle, you were very mindful. You knew how far you were in front of somebody. You knew how far behind you were, what was to the sides. What was the whole process? It was an awareness. What put us in the meditative state was an exercise, walking in a circle." So
Hmm.
what meditation is a shifting of a brainwave pattern to increase awareness, which is why it's important. So it's not necessarily, I know we see people going sitting around going, "Om." Yes, but it's not that either. So when I realized that that whole walking meditation, he said it was a metaphor for life. You need to live your life this way. Whether you're driving the car, doing the dishes, tending the children, working, you need to be in this meditative state. The reason why is when we're in our active waking state, we're in a beta brainwave pattern. And in that beta brainwave pattern, if we're running too high in frequency with our brainwaves, we get into the stress, the worry, the pressure, the anxiety, the depression. But if we lower it and go through the meditative exercises designed to put you into meditation, so I teach the exercises,
Hmm.
those brainwave patterns lower and you go into an alpha state, then into a theta state. And right between a theta and an alpha brainwave state is the sweet spot where you want to be, where you resonate with all of Earth. It's 7.86. It goes to the Schumann resonance, all of that. And when you're in that state, you're in a calm, peaceful, balanced, centered state where you have clarity, focus, and balance. When you're operating from that viewpoint and you're working, things just flow easily and effortlessly. But when you get into those beta brainwave states, where the stress and the anger and the frustration is. It stops you and you don't accomplish as much as you can in that. So that's why meditation is important, because it allows us to direct and focus the energy. So when we ask for these changes, we're letting go of anger, we're bringing in happiness, and you're in that state. It just naturally happens and occurs. And as it occurs, it's a permanent shift and change. So I share the exercises that I've learned from Buddhist monks and yogic healers, that when you do them, you naturally go into a meditation state instead of you trying to sit there going, I have no thought, I have no thought.
Yeah.
That
Oh,
doesn't work.
been there. I'm guilty of that. It definitely happens. And and when it comes to meditation, because you actually train, others in different, probably even forms of meditation. I mean, do different people need different forms of meditation, or does like one form fit all?
What I teach are several different exercises that engage your senses differently. So there's one on mind thoughts, there's one on hearing, there's one that we use with our eyesight, there's one with breathing to get the breathing going. And what's important about that, and why I teach these specific exercises to go into a meditative state, is I also record a few meditations. They're out there. I have a step-by-step instruction video that's about 15 minutes long, the 5 steps to instantly create anything. And what it does is it starts with knowing what you want to create,
Mhm.
being able to speak it so you can hear it. You have to see it, you have to feel it, and then you have to disconnect from the energy. Well, when you do the meditation exercises and then you go through an exercise like that, and you just do the 6-minute meditation every day, then what you're asking for starts instantly appearing in your life, because it's all interconnected. So I teach the exercises to engage the senses, which put you in the meditation. So then when we make these changes, it happens. Or if you just do the meditation, it just is.
That is incredible to me. I'm just going to say that is incredible. And you have so much to teach, and I have so much to learn. So many of us do, and I mean it. You know, and another thing, you know, uh, another concept. I don't even want to say thing, like another concept that you offer that I really don't know much about myself, and is numerology.
Yes.
My wife, she loves numerology.
Mhm.
She's always sitting there counting this, counting that, and she's like, well, it adds up to, and this and that, and I'm like, I, y- but she tells me all the time, numerology is very, very powerful. What role does numerology play in your life and those that you teach and train?
Yes. With numerology, numbers are part of the secrets of the universe. And Nikola Tesla talks about 369. We have the Fibonacci sequence. The father of numerology is Pythagoras. And he believed all letters can be denoted to numbers. And if you know the frequency of numbers, you can understand your life path, your personality, your inward personality, your soul purpose. And if you make a change, you can change your destiny with
Mm.
your names, with numbers, with frequency. So, what I like to do with numerology is I have a little shortcut version that I keep, well, in my mind. But when I see numbers or reoccurring number patterns or sequences, it's giving me information from the universe, and it's telling me what's going to be showing up in my life. And so one of my favorite numbers is 811. It's a number that kept
Mhm.
showing up years and years and years ago. And I would see house numbers or the time, 811. Well, 8 is the number of abundance, 11 is a master number. It all relates to the number 10, which reduces to a 1, which is new creation, new things are coming. And I got so used to seeing the number 811 when I had my last child, who's almost 11.
Oh.
She's 10 right now, and she'll be 11 soon. But what's so funny about that, when she was born, she weighed 811. How does that happen?
Interesting.
So numbers
Wow.
show patterns and show sequences and bring you information. And if you know what the numbers represent, you can start decoding the energy. So when I'm getting ready to go to my next live event, I check into the hotel room, I look at my number, I know what each letter, which number stands for. When I add it all together, what the overall theme is going to be. I know if it's going to be a very abundant, or if I'm going to have to work, or if I really have to walk by talk, or based on different things that I pick up as keys with it.
Well, it's fascinating about numerology because when it comes to numerology, so many things you have to be there in the physical, but with numerology, it transcends the physical,
It
doesn't
does.
it?
It does. And here's the other piece with numerology, and this is, I think, part of the connection people don't always realize, is that when you go back to actual sound frequencies and you go back to the ancient tones, to the ancient monks, they're called, I'm going to butcher this, solfago or solfago frequencies.
Okay.
And those frequencies all add up to 3, 6, or 9. So you would have a frequency of 5, uh, let's see, I'm going to get 528. There we go. So 528 all adds up. 5 plus 1, or 5 plus 2 is 7. 7 plus 8 is 15. 1, so you add the 1 and the 5 together, it's a 6. Well, 6 is the number for love. Love is spirit.
Mhm.
And that is like the master healing frequency, which resonates to the heart space. So oftentimes when I witness healing, and since I know what those frequencies are, or you can just listen to them on your Spotify account, you can start receiving healing of those master key numbers that resonate to your energy fields as well. So if numbers are frequency and vibration, you know what they mean. And then you can transcend that by sending those frequencies to another person or even to yourself, or listening to them if you need to hear the sound. It's going to start transcending you as an energy being. And that's why
Wow.
numerology is so important. But I don't think people make some of those connections.
So, my last question, because this hour went way too
It goes
fast.
fast.
Oh my gosh. But if you were able to to create a gift that
Uh-huh.
you were able to give each and every person that you come across. It's like, here Robert, here Sean,
Mhm.
here, Jennifer, here, I'm just thinking of people that we know, you know, if you were able to create that gift that's transferable, what
Mhm.
would that gift look like to the other person?
Wow. For me, I know I always want the world to be a better place. And for it to be a better place, we all get to increase in vibration and frequency. So happiness is so much better to be around than sadness. So I
Right.
always want that. So if I had a gift, it's really the gift of healing to make that transition. So not only is the world a better place, but you get to live your best life ever. And if I could create one thing for the whole world, maybe I'll get close to this one time, but sometime here, but it'd be like a magic wand. So I wouldn't have to take an entire hour to shift. I could just, blink and you're done because you got it. So I think those would be some of the most amazing gifts to share with people, and to elevate the world. Because for me, it's all about living the life you love and loving the life you live. And if you
Mm.
don't love your life and you're not living your best life ever, then that tells me something needs to change for you so you can step into your power and gain that infinite prosperity.
I agree so much with that. Everyone, I am with Donna Campbell of the Healing Heart, and it's been an amazing hour today. I have your information going across right now, your phone number, your email address. Are there other ways that people can find you, get a hold of you,
Mhm.
look out for you, get a
Yes.
taste of that magic wand, so to speak?
Yes. And here, if you are in the United States and if
Hmm.
you wanted to do what we call a mobile text opt in, all you have to do to
Oh,
directly link to me is type in the word manifesting to the number 26786. And then that will directly link you to me. You can utilize a complimentary half-hour session, which is a $180 value. It
oh.
connects you to all of my social media, and there's some other free gifts in there too. So the fast track message, the word manifesting to 26786.
Well, I am so excited that you are on our show today. Donna Campbell will also be in the book, The Art of Connection,
Yeah,
365 Inspirational Quotes by Entrepreneurs, Business Owners, and Influencers. I'm excited to see what your page looks like, Donna. So I
me too.
cannot wait from
I'm
that.
committing it.
You t- right. And please come here each and every week, Donna. I think we'll we'll spend more time digging deeper on the next show. I cannot wait to have you on again. I'm already looking out for you to come on to another show. You know,
I'm ready. Let's do it.
let's do it. Let's do it. I mean, we are going to share ourselves and our magic wand with the world one stroke at a time.
Yes.
So thank you again so much for being on the show today. You're a delight, a treat. I've learned so much. I have a page full of notes, from what you've given me, because I tell people who come on my show, all the time. I tell them this. I'm like, I had to create a show so I could just learn more about you. so I hopefully you learned a little bit about me as well. But I know that you have things to do and places to go, but you took this time and place to do it with me, and I say thank you for that.
Thank you, and thank you for having me, and for everyone who's watching and listening. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much. And until next week, thanks again, Dawna. Until next week, next Thursday we're on Arizona time from 2:30 to 3:30. I will see you here on the iNetrepreneur Radio Network on the iNetrepreneur Radio Show. Have a good weekend, everyone. Have a blessed day today. And again, thank you to all of the veterans who have served and given us this country as a greatness. Thanks again, everyone.
You've been watching the iNetrepreneur Show, a production of the iNetrepreneur Radio Network, with host Robert W. Jones. Join Robert each week as he visits with new and exciting guests who inspire, teach, and mentor entrepreneurs worldwide. Follow Robert each Thursday at 1:30 p.m. Pacific, 4:30 p.m. Eastern, and 8:30 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time.